I swear, can we start again?
Hello and welcome to the Burning Questions. There's a little bit going on off air, it has to be said here. Dunny asking whether he's allowed to use profanities. No, not this time around. We will have to start again if you use any profanities, Aaron Dunn. But I'm about to mention the great work of Hip Pocket Workwear, and you've got Hip Pocket Workwear at home.
Yeah, no, the shirt I had on the other day when you mentioned it, I should have probably had that on today, but that's where I get them done in town here. So just the good shirts.
I'll tell you what, you've already copped some heat from Andy Gath, who it feels like he's in a bit of a mood. He hasn't tipped the winner in the last few weeks in terms of his best, and he's thinking, I'll tell you what, he's going to get nasty instead. Are you okay, Andy, or should we all be on guard for the next 20 minutes?
No, I'm starting to simmer down, so it's okay. I'll be nice to everyone. Maybe not you, but the other guests I will be.
Yeah, the humans you'll be nice to. That's the main thing, as long as you're nice to the humans. And Skeeter, how are you? It feels like this is going to be fast, frenetic, and there's going to be a traditional amount of insults thrown. So are you prepared for everything?
I am ready to go, Bon. And as I said in the first take before we had to do a retake, really looking forward to this weekend's racing. It's pretty exciting to see some pretty quality horses stepping out.
Yeah, if Andy hadn't made that early error, it'd be one take as per usual. But I'm working with amateurs. Let's get stuck into the burning questions. We'll start with you, Andy. Is Act Now classy enough to overcome his second row draw over the short trip fresh tonight? It's a very difficult thing to do. He's a horse that normally likes to be up on the premises somewhere. What are your thoughts? I think primarily, what are your thoughts on your own horse going around in that race? Because I would have thought that he's under wraps, looked a likely leader, and over the short trip should be able to make life very hard for Act Now and Jillaby Nitro.
Yeah, no, definitely. Been quite happy with he's under wraps. He trialled about 3 weeks ago, and he's really come on since that run. Act Now's a quality 3-year-old. He's performed really well in a lot of good races, but the 7 times he's won is the 7 times he's led, and obviously he's not going to be afforded that opportunity off the second row around Bendigo over the short. So, but he's still definitely the one to beat. But I think my horse will give him something to chase as well from the pole draw if the emergency comes out.
So what we're often trying to do when we see horses resume, and it's a very difficult thing to do, is go, okay, let's have a look at the previous campaign form and say how close are we to that form we're looking at on paper compared to what we'll see first up.
Yeah, well, he's under wraps been gelded since his last run actually. So, we were a little bit road attitude towards the end of last campaign. A couple of races he probably should have been finishing off a lot better. So hopefully that's turned his attitude around. We think it has. So I'm expecting to see probably a better horse than last campaign.
Yeah, I've been threatened to be gelded a few times. Fortunately, I've been able to escape the knife, Dunny, so far. But give us. I know this is a slightly ridiculous question, but give us a mile rate that he can run in front.
I reckon I'm sure he'd go 53 if the weather's okay, but yeah, might have to go 52.5. Who knows?
I reckon that's bad news for Act Now and Jillaby Nitro, to be honest, because we see it so often, don't we? And you've been a victim of it yourself, as most participants have. Second row draws. If nobody else wants to do anything for you, then you have to do it yourself. And particularly over a short trip, if they're running time, gee, it's hard these days.
No, that's dead right. Extremely hard, and you might think you've been disappointing in the race, and then you go and look at the sectionals, especially at Melton, and you think, God, you've run the third quickest last half. So, yeah, look, raced against Act Now a few times, and I was probably lucky enough to beat him in that Group 1, and yeah, just that draw over the short makes it tough, and but then after 100 it might all change. But look, you'd be on song to be going, but yeah, look, probably his best behind performance was in that APG final, which he went really good in that. So if he comes back a bit better, you never know.
I'm worried for him. I've got to be honest with you, Skeeter. Jillaby Nitro is the other critical runner in the race, but hearing from Andy there, and that's critical information. I'm not saying it's going to be impossible for Act Now, but gee, he'd want to put up a Herculean performance first up from a break to be going sub 53, even at Bendigo, and winning from the second line draw.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, Bon. Look, he's a quality horse, isn't he? We have seen him race in the best races against his own age group, but he does have a few things against him. Obviously, back row draw over a mile. We have seen 3-year-olds stepping up, taking on the older horses. Sometimes that progression, that step can be a little bit difficult. And he is first up, which is so hard to win at this level first up as well. So Look, I'd be far from declaring him, but there's no doubt that he is a quality horse and he can win the race, but he's going to have to bring his very best, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think my opinion's been changed by Andy, to be honest. I probably thought he could win the race now. We can, but I think the percentages have dropped. Fresh Connection. They're associated closely with question 2 of the Burning Questions because they sponsor it. That's why question 2 is brought to you by the Fresh Connection, who export Australian fresh fruit to more than 35 countries, headed up by Damien Glengarry, who is the export manager and does a magnificent job, as Aaron Dunn does, in keeping his phone in a beautifully stable place. Hasn't he done a lot better than the younger players in this area? It's fantastic. You're doing a super job, just like Damien Glengarry. The Fresh Connection specialise in citrus, table grapes, and cherries and mangoes. Freshconnection.com.au is where you need to go. All right, let's get stuck into the second of the Burning Questions, sponsored by Fresh Connection, and we will start. We'll start with you here, Dunny, no doubt about it. Will Race Fitness and Advantageous Alley, or an Advantageous Alley, leave the 3-year-old contest at Bondi Lockdown's mercy? Now, you don't want to go in there thinking it's going to be all very easy, but I just see a situation with Major Moth drawn outside of you. They haven't wanted Bondi Lockdown to find the front a lot in his life, have they? But here it looks like he will get there, and he's never been beaten in front. A sample size of 2, but a pretty impressive sample size of 2.
Yeah, no, look, it's probably helped with the other scratching of, Stag Party coming out, because, he probably got in front and wanted to bowl along and over race a bit. But look, I think having, there's been a lot of times it's been the reverse. I've been drawn outside some, and that's cost me. But look, hopefully this time, I can get away good enough, which he sort of showed at Ballarat. He had a bit of gate speed that I can get away and keep him to me outside for the journey.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, after that last up performance as well, you'd be thinking to yourself, they're going to let me pass at some point. Like a lot of the time, they have wanted to just keep you out, but at some point, there's going to be a realisation that it's no good for them if they don't give you the front.
Well, I probably showed last start. He's virtually gone for 600 metres, fairly solid, and then I had to take a sip. I felt, and then he was still good enough to out sprint him. So with a bit of luck, I can find the top, and he's been unbeaten in front when he's made there. So that'd be good to get that roll.
I do apologise if you just saw me flipping the bird to tags, and there's a few next to me here in the SEN Track Studios, and I think they just want me to quieten down a little bit. But I'm not going to. Andy Gath, your thoughts here? It's a most intriguing race, but I do remember a little horse called Struve you talking about having a great record at Bendigo, and you're looking at a situation here. I think Bondi Lockdown and Bendigo seem to get along pretty well as well.
Yeah, no, he's a quality horse, and to do what he did last start, that's to show of a horse that's going places. I think when things don't go your way and still able to win the race. So yeah, Aaron's got him at the top of his game at the moment, and we know what a great horse Major Moth is too, and he's first up, which won't matter too much. But again, just a barrier draw advantage, and obviously they've got a bigger fish to fry. So's Aaron too, with the Derby coming up not far away. So I don't think they'll overdrive Major Moth. They'll sort of be a little bit cautious with his first up run, and just sort of, so everything plays in the favour of Bondi Lockdown, and you think eventually someone's going to hand up to him, and be a great horse to follow. So I think you'll probably find the top, and it's going to be the one to beat.
There's a chance that Major Moth might not get involved at all here. Might actually go back.
I think so. He's got terrific high speed, and I think they just might drive him off to speed. They probably don't want to be stuck outside Aaron's horse first up. So it just after the first 100 we sort of know a lot more. But I think Bondi Lockdown's in great form and it's going to be the one to beat.
Yeah, he's going to be a little spoiler alert. He's my best on the program, but there's some other nice up and comers here. Even take Stag Party out of the equation. I know there's one from a camp that you're relatively close to, Skeeter named Barnaby, who looks like he's got more than his fair share of ability. But on the night is Bondi Lockdown, with everything we've heard and everything we feel about this 3-year-old race. Is it just it's on his racket?
I think it is, Bon. Yeah, it just all seems to look in his favour this weekend, doesn't it? I think he has the speed to hold out Major Moth, who probably on paper looks the main danger. He has the runs on the board, doesn't he? So I think Bondi Lockdown will be able to push forward, keep Major Moth out, and from there it looks his race to lose. He was just so impressive last time. I think we were all taken by that effort at Bendigo last time out. where he didn't get things his own way, as Aaron mentioned, and he was still able to get the job done when not many horses would have been able to. So I think he's definitely a contender, major contender for the Derby, and I think he should be winning this race this weekend.
Oh, poor old Dunny's starting to shake it. He's just going, could everyone stop saying nice things about Bondi Lockdown? Leave it to me. If I want to pump him up, that's fine. But if you people in the media could just calm down and Nacho, that'd be extremely nice. But he's an outstanding horse. Last 2 times I've been to
Does
Bendigo.
put a bit of pressure on, I can tell you.
Well, the last 2 times I've been to Bendigo, at the end of the night, Kirsten Graham and I have discussed the run of the night. It's been Bondi both times, and I think it will be again. But if you want to beat the big boys, we're going to talk about you, Dunny. Has Majestuoso, third question here, Andy, matured to such a degree we can label him in the Australasian Trotting Championship? Now, that sounds like a funny question, but even particularly as he absolutely brained his rivals in this race last year and in back-to-back standing starts, but still at the start, he still looked like he could do things wrong on that immaturity that he had early. He just prance around and do his little Majestuoso thing. But is he at the level now of professionalism where he'll just settle nicely behind the strands, ping them, and we can just say he's the best horse in the race, he wins?
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. Standing start racing is so much different to mobile racing. I'm pretty confident he'll get away. Standing start record's really good, and his long distance record's equally, it's actually better. It's 4 from 4 over the long distance, but standing starts bring the other horses into it. The last ones we've seen lately, anything that's sort of been able to get on the fence has been able to win these, and the horses that have run placings that had to run the majors and sectionals just to get into the places and probably never look like winning at any stage. But yeah, he's a quality horse. He's come a long way in a short time. Probably we've sort of looked after him. He's had plenty of quirks, but he's still probably not an enforcer yet. He still probably needs things to go his way to win these races, but he might be forced to sort of put himself in the race just depending on the tempo. But really happy where he's at. He was terrific first up. He was off a little bit at Kilmore, even though he never really got into the race, but I'm sure he had an off night and he was back to his best at Geelong, and racing 7 days apart probably suits him a little bit too. So expect him to go really well, but by no means is he immoral in this race.
That experience he's got, though, because you look at a couple in this race, Andy, and Sleepy and Cover of Darkness, who've never had a crack at the standing start before, and you think to yourself, well, they don't really seem like standing start horses anyway, so, you must feel relatively confident that you'll be in front of, quite a few pretty early on, because when he has begun well from behind the stand, he makes up his ground really quickly. He doesn't have that mid-race speed, but that speed that he has inside of him, he can use at the start of a standing race as well.
No, he can. If if it was clear traffic early, I'd say Kate would just sort of press on early and sort of get up around him. He can begin really quick. He's a fast horse. He's got really quick reflex. He's quick off nothing. So all depends early. Sometimes you get a little bit of traffic, or you only need one horse to get in your way and to hold you up. But if you sort of get clear air early and opportunity and get past half the field, I'm sure Kate will sort of be around there early and see if he can actually get up near towards the lead.
You're always driving the same car because it feels like it's different upholstery sometimes on Burning Questions. Is it like, how many cars do you have?
Actually, a new car. It's a new Ranger. So they've got leather seating now compared to the others. But yeah, did have this one last week for the Andy Gath show, but bought a new car just for the episode. So we've still got this one.
We'll have the Andy Gath show back next week, so we'll get a new car then again. Dunny, what do you reckon? Looking at like Majestuoso, I definitely think he's the horse to beat at standing starts, long trip races. They're very tricky to work out these days, aren't they?
Oh, they are, and you can get so far back. But look, now Andy's told me he was 4 from 4 from the distance. He's just such a fast horse, and he's got plenty of time to put himself in the race. Yeah, I didn't realise Sleepy and Cover of Darkness hadn't had a stand, but Cover of Darkness, he was doing a warm up before I raced the other night at Bendigo, and by crikey, he was fairly excitable. So, but he's got the outside of the front, which will help him, be away from a few. So, but look, he's a nice horse, and when he's fast, he's fast.
No doubt about it. And the best thing is, Dunny, that Andy and I are not only educating those at home, but also educating you at the same time. And I think that's a beautiful thing for us all, telling you about the long trip record of Majestuoso, who hasn't been to the Strands. What are your thoughts here, Skeeter? Like, in my major quaddy, I'm going to have Majestuoso one out, but I think Andy's right. I don't. It's very hard in these sort of races just to completely label them.
Yeah, that's game of you, Bon. I tended to think that this race is very open, just because we just don't know how it is going to play out. There are plenty of question marks, and we have seen over the past few weeks as well that horses off back markers, sometimes they just cannot get into it. The sectionals that they have to run to win or even run a place are just crazy. So look, don't get me wrong, I think he's the horse to beat, and he's my on top selection, Majestuoso, in the race. But yeah, he's going to need to step away well, which we know he generally does. But it's not going to be easy for him, that's for sure. So I'm with him, but I think it's all going to depend at what happens at the start and how the race is run.
I think he's made of he's a different breed to a couple of others that have had to work their way into it. I think he'll be past more than half the field within 100 metres, and then he'll be right up there. I thought Mouldy Law was his major danger person. Who do you think, if you could pick one major danger in that race, who would it be, Andy?
The pole horse.
You're agreeing with me, but you don't want to say the actual words that I've said. Is that what we've come to there?
Well, we pronounce it differently, so I didn't want to upset you and say it wrong.
That's okay. I'm not that culturally sensitive. If you don't know how to say Mouldy properly, that's nothing wrong with you, Andy. You're a great man. The final question. And the last of our burning questions is sponsored with thanks to Falvo Fruit, specialists in table grapes. Since the 1960s, Michael and Josie Falvo are keeping their tradition going, and everyone loves their grapes. I've got some big purple ones at home at the moment. I don't like the seeds. What can you do for me, Falvo? Keep an eye out for Falvo Fruits. You know you'll love them. You know you'll love them. Stop denying it. Final question. Does General Dodge cross the lot in the Caduceus Classic? And if yes, what happens from there? We'll start with you, Aaron Dunn. He's a very, very fast horse. He's a very exciting horse. And as Gareth Hall tweeted it today, which I thought summed it up pretty amazingly, the newest rising star in Australian harness racing's 9 years of age, and he's had less than 20 starts. It's a freaky sort of a situation. But what does your map look like in that very good Group 1?
Well, I did have a feeling that Max's Delight might have been able to cross the one horse. Like, yeah, it's hard to judge. Like, he got away good the other day, but that number one draw can always be a bit of a tough one to lead from. And then, that probably allows General Dodge to go the front because he's got issues. Do they just push the button and try and win $100,000 race and aim for bigger things like Victoria Cup? But yeah, that's probably, maybe I thought, Silent Mage is not, he's nice out, but maybe Western Sonador wasn't as quick out as I thought he'd be. And maybe Bonzel Benjamin had a bit of a bad night the other night, but yeah, he's probably still going to go forward, I would think, at the odds he's at, and probably cross, and then it's probably all over nearly, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting. I think your map's probably a little bit different than a few others. I'll go to you, Skater. I'll say that I thought probably having a good look at it, that it would be hard for Max Delight to cross. General Dodge would get across, but then I see him handing up to a horse like maybe Max Delight at that point, or Will Stride if he was on the scene quickly enough. We'll ask Andy about that in a moment. But what were your thoughts? Do you think maybe General Dodge, if he does, does he find the front? And if he gets it, does he keep it, or does he hand over?
I think if Jason Lee wants to find the front, he probably can. He spoke to Tim O'Connor yesterday on radio and kept his cards pretty close to his chest. He didn't give away too much. So, just saying he hadn't had a really good look at the race yet. And they'll just have to weigh up and see what happens. Obviously, the horse has had his issues. We know that. So do they want to use him at the start early? But I think that if he does want to, he should be able to get across. That speed that he has is just breathtaking. We've seen that on plenty of occasions at the end of his races and also off the gate. So, I think if they want to, he will be able to find the top. And then from there, it probably just depends who comes looking first. I tend to think that Jason's probably happy to hold the lead if there isn't a horse knocking on the door that he really wants to follow. So it's going to be interesting. I think there's multiple things that could happen, but I think if they want to find the top on General Dodge, they probably can. Bon, you're on mute. You've muted yourself somehow.
This is an amazing performance. Hang on.
You're back.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah.
Having quite a day here. And you know why it muted me? Because I was having a go at you, Skeet. I was saying if Jason Lee says that he hasn't had a good look at the race yet, he's not keeping his cards close to his chest. He really hasn't had a good look at the race yet. He'll have a good look about 7:40 on Saturday at Bendigo, I reckon, have a good look at the race. What do you reckon, Andy? We're getting some dissenting opinions here. I thought the idea of leading and trailing was probably the likely scenario, but not everyone agrees.
Yeah, I think depends how hard he works, I suppose. If he leads easily, he might decide to hold it. But if he sort of has to work pretty hard to get past Max Delight and Western Sonador, he might decide to hand up. So it just depends what the other runners do, I suppose. Obviously, they've got Wolf Stride in it. He's probably never shown much gate speed throughout his career yet. But, we'll be trucking forward and get out as quick as we can. But, yeah, no, he's a speed freak, General Dodge. There's no doubt about that. He's super fast off the arm and he's super fast at the end of the race too. So, he's got weapons at the start of the race and the end of the race. So, it'd be interesting. But I personally think he'll cross, and I personally think he'll probably hand up eventually.
A little birdie told me that you've called General Dodge the fastest horse you've ever seen. I don't want to name the person because, I'm the Mighty Quinn himself is already feeling pretty disrespected by this entire conversation. But are these comments you've actually made, Andrew?
Yes, no, they are. I've seen him trial a lot throughout his career. Yeah, he just got amazing speed. I think for 200 metres, he's as fast as horse I've seen. That's
extraordinary. That's a big call. It's going to be very hard to beat him on Saturday night, no matter what the tactics are. With Wolf Stride, before we go to the best bets, will you be talking to Kate and saying try and be there on the scene as quickly as possible in case the hand up is there and you might be the one that gets to be the beneficiary?
Yeah, obviously. Again, he's never shown a lot of gate speed before, but we'll be trying to get out the gate as quick as we can. And he might be left park, but so be it. That's that's where he's drawn. Someone's got to draw him 7, so he'll be better for the run last week, and he'll be better for this run too. But I expect him to run a pretty good race. I'm sure the track record's going to be in a little bit of danger here, I'd say.
All right, I'm going to keep myself off mute for this because it's pretty important. It's the best bets time of the burning questions. The show after the Andy Gath show. Now we're following to try and get the big ratings. All right, Dunny, we're going to go with you first. Who's your best of the night?
Well, yeah, I was sort of hard. Probably after this, I've changed, and I'll just stick with my horse Bondi. Actually, I was thinking of going Max Delight for an each way bet, but is this the best winning chance?
This is you can make it up in your own mind, but best bets, which means next time we have you on the show, you want to find one that's going to win,
right?
Dunny, because you're told about it if you don't.
I'll stick with Bondi then.
All right, that's one Bondi Lockdown. I'll already say mine is also Bondi Lockdown. I think sometimes these races, particularly on a Saturday night, are very hard to work out. I don't think this one is that hard to work out. Bondi Lockdown in front, all the way winner. Skeety, you've teared up a bit there with the giggles. Now talk to us. Who's your best of the night?
I'm making it 3 Bondi Lockdowns. It was just such a hard meeting to try and find best bet. I said to Aaron and Andy off air when you were running a little bit late that there's just multiple winning chances in almost every race. It was it was quite hard to find something that I was really confident about. But most of my confidence is with Bondi Lockdown. So no pressure there, Aaron. But that's 3 for Bondi Lockdown.
Incredible stuff. And how about Skeeter? Really, first rule of broadcasting is you never throw your fellow broadcasters under the bus. She's mentioned now to the viewers, I was late. There was a take 2 for the first time in the history of burning questions, and even yelled out, "You're on mute, Bon." So, but somebody had to tell me, I guess. Somebody had to tell me. So fair enough. Andy, here we go. Can he be the comeback kid? He found Struve a couple of weeks back, but his last 3 he's missed out on. Has he got a best bet for us? Will it be 4 Bondi Lockdowns? I'm going to tease under wraps. Who was it, Andy?
No, you're going to have to wait until race 11, number 7, Assassinator. So if I get it wrong, it's 11:03. Most people will be asleep anyway. But, I just think it's a big drop down in class for him, and he's going really well. So Assassinator for me.
Assassinator. Do you put in an algorithm that says the figure form line has to be the numbers have to add up, those 5 numbers to 25 or more, or you're not playing? What's the go?
No, that's it. It just don't bag me.
I'm not bagging. You've done an exceptional job of being able to find horses with poor figure form lines and find a way to get them to win. Even maybe they hear about it.
Yeah,
they haven't won forever and gone, Andy thinks I can win. Andy said, well, maybe I can win. Assassinator in the last race, race 11, number 7. I made it 4th pick. I'm not changing.
Well,
Hey, guys, thanks very much for joining us on the Burning Questions. It's been a lot of fun, as per usual. You're still smiling, Dunny, even though we've now put stacks of pressure on you with Bondi Lockdown. Make sure you get the front, all right?
Oh, well, we'll see what happens anyway. There's still probably a few trying to hold me out, though. You wouldn't know.
I tell you what, I'll bring a blood pressure pill to the track just because you're already starting to get wound up about that race. Well done to you, Andy Gath. Well done to you, Skeeter. And well done to you, Jay Bond. You really hold the ship together like a legend, even though people want to have a go at you. Time to say sayonara. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with us all celebrating winners here from the Burning Questions.